Samach Vav, Amud Aleph. Or actually we can, we'll start with Tobar Nahardoi. So we mentioned yesterday at the end of the Amud a story where Rav, who was he? Rav Chanina, Bar Yosef, Rav Chia, Bar Abba, and Rav Asi went to a certain inn which belonged to a guy. The guy was not there, and therefore they made an eruv with each other. They were able to. The guy wasn't there, so they were able to make an eruv. But then the guy showed up on Shabbos. So they wanted to know if they could rent his rights from him on Shabbos. They hadn't done it before Shabbos. They wanted to know if they can do that now on Shabbos. And there was a little bit of a machlokes there. We said, in the end, they did rent it. They asked Rav Yochanan, and Rav Yochanan said, "Yafa asisem sheschartem." It was you did well. You did the right thing by renting it from this guy, even on Shabbos. And the way they explain it is because it's not that they were able to make an eruv now, but what they accomplished was, now at least they were able to all be mevatel their reshus. Everybody was able to give up their rights to one of the other yidden there, and now he can carry at least. But it doesn't help for everybody else. It doesn't help for all the other people joining the chutzner, because you can't create an eruv on Shabbos. It has to be there from before Shabbos. So on this, To Bo Nahardoi, those in Nahardoi were trying to understand. Umi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi. Did Rabbi Yochanan really say this? V'ha Amar Rabbi Yochanan. We know from Rabbi Yochanan that he says, Soicher K'ma'arev Dami. Somebody who rents is like making an eruv. And on the Samachay Amud Beis we said, Soicher K'ma'arev, my lav, we assume that means, my ma'arev miba'od yom, af soicher miba'od yom. Just like an eruv has to be done on Erev Shabbos, before Shabbos starts, so too, the schirus, the rental has to take effect before, you have to do it before Shabbos. So Gemara says, "Loy." That's not what Rabbi Yochanan meant when he said that schirus soicher is similar to eruv. He applied three leniencies, three kulas, to compare soicher to eruv, to ma'arev, the one who rents to one who's making an eruv. What is it? Ma ma'arev afilu b'pachas mishava pruta, af soicher b'pachas mishava pruta. Just like somebody who's making somebody who makes an eruv can do it with less than a shava pruta, so too the rental over here, when you rent from a guy, like we said earlier, could be with less than a shava pruta. Just like an eruv can be done not only with the owner, the guy, let's say the non-Jewish owner of the property, his worker or his field worker or his seicher or his, they call it l'kitai, the one who works in his field, he has the right to also rent out the rights. If he's a yid, we're talking about. If he hires a yid that works for him, he also has the right to do it for eruv. So too, by rental, it can be done through him. Afilu skiroi, l'kita af seicher, afilu skiroi l'kita. Uma me'arev chamisha sheshruyin b'chatzer achas, echad me'arev al yidei kulan. Seicher nami chamisha sheshruyin b'chatzer achas, echad seicher al yidei kulan. The third comparison from eruv to seicher is just like by an eruv. If you have 5 people, even 5 people living in one chutzner, and then they want to make a eruv together with the neighboring chutzner. So not all 5 people have to go make the eruv. One person could go on behalf of everybody and make the eruv, join up with the chutzner next door. So too by rental, if you have to rent the property from a guy, not every one of the residents of this chutzner has to go rent it from the guy. One is enough for everybody.
But it's not obvious. Also, you just make a shaliach and then...
Yeah, but maybe you would think that everybody has to have sort of like an ownership in the guy's chutzner. So everybody would have to make some sort of transaction. I guess the Chiddush Rabbi Yochanan is teaching us here is that you don't have to. Ready?
You can continue. 1, 2.
Okay. Toiba Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar was trying to understand. Amar Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Lazar was also trying to understand the story that happened with the innkeeper, with the guy. And Amar Rabbi Zera didn't understand what Rabbi Lazar was bothered by. Amar Rabbi Zera, my tahiyya de Rabbi Lazar. What was the uncertainty of Rabbi Lazar? Amrav Sheshes Gavra Rabba Ki Rabbi Zera Lo Yada My Taya de Rabbi Eliezer. Such a great man like Rabbi Zera, you didn't understand what the Shiloh of Rabbi Eliezer was. You didn't understand what his problem was. The problem that was bothering him was because Kashale de Shmuel Rabbi, the Rebbe of Rabbi Yochanan, which was Shmuel, seems to say not like Rabbi Yochanan is saying. The Amar Shmuel, because we know that Shmuel says Kol Makam She'Isrin U'Ma'arvin Mevatlan. So there's going to be three cases over here. Any place where you have in a chutzner where two people would, without an eruv, they would make each other usher. Let's say you have two yidden in two houses living in one chutzner. So without an eruv, it's usher for them to carry from their house to the chutzner. But so if it's a case where Oisrin U'Ma'arvin, if they want, they could make an eruv and it will work. So then mevatlin, they have the right to be mevatel. One has the right to be mevatel his rights. He can give up his rights to the chutzner, and then the other one can automatically carry over here. Or in the case where you have a few people in the chutzner and one of them doesn't join the eruv, he could give up his rights to the chutzner, and then everybody else can join in an eruv. So what Shmuel is saying over here is this bittul works if it's a case of if without an eruv they would have been usher to carry. With an eruv it would have worked. So then mevatlin, they have the right to be mevatel, to give up their rights. But in the case where ma'arvin ve'ein oisrin, an eruv would work, but without the eruv it wouldn't be usher. In other words, the example of this case we'll see in the Gemara. I think we have to speak it out now, just because otherwise it doesn't make sense. What it would mean if you have two side-by-side chatzeros, two courtyards side by side. So each one on its own, they're not usher, even if they make their own eruv. Let's say there's two side-by-side chatzeros, and there's an opening in the middle, but there's also openings on the ends. So none of the people in any of the chatzeros have to walk through the other one. Each one could live happily on their own. So if they each have their own chatzer, so then fine. So then they're not answering one on another. So they're not answering on each other, but they could make an eruv if they want to join together as one.
Because they have the Pesach in between.
So therefore, in that case. In that case, or in the next case, both of these you won't be able to make bittul. What's the second case? Where am I here?
Oisrin
ve'ein ma'arvin. So, or in a case where they make each other usher, that means without the eruv they won't be able to carry, but still ve'ein ma'arvin. Maybe there's a guy there or something. There's something holding them back. They can't make an eruv. So ein mevatlin. So in these two cases that I just mentioned, either you could make an eruv, but it won't make you usher on one another if without the eruv, or it makes you usher. The fact that you're living there, a few yidden in the same chutzner, it makes you usher, but you can't make an eruv. In those two cases, ein mevatlin. You can't make bittul. So what do we see over here? Kol makom she'oisrin u'ma'arvin.
So now the Gemara explains what these three.
Right, what the cases are. Right. Kol makom she'oisrin u'ma'arvin. Any place. So this is going back to the first one. A place where they would make each other usher, be usher on one another, u'ma'arvin, and you still have the ability to make an eruv mevatlin. There you could make a bittul. What's that case? Kegoin beis chatzeros zulifnim mizu. You have we had like in yesterday's DAF. We have two chatzeros, one inside the other, and the inner one needs to walk through the outer one in order to get out, into the mavoi. So beis chatzeros zulifnim mizu ma'arvin, they can make an eruv with each other.
No, that's that.
I'm sorry. So that's that case. Ma'arvin ve'ein oisrin. If you have a case where they could make an eruv but they don't make each other usher, what's that case? Ein mevatlin, you can't make bittul, you can't give up your rights to the chutzner. What is that case? Kegoin beis chatzeros u'pesach echad beinehem. And if you see in all the Gemaras, it has on the right side, it has a diagram in the Bach. So the second diagram is this one. They have two side-by-side courtyards, and then they also have an exit, so they don't need to go through each other. So you could make an eruv, but they don't make each other usher, so there you could be mevatel. One could give up their rights. You can't, I'm sorry, there's no bittul there. Beis chatzeros u'pesach echad beinehen.
Period. Now, next case, the third case.
Oisrin ve'ein ma'arvin. If you have the case where they would make each other usher, so they're living together in the same chutzner, and ve'ein ma'arvin, they don't have the ability to make an eruv. Ein mevatlin. Lasuye mai. So what's this case? You can't make bittul in this case. My love, is it not talking about lasuye nachri? There's a guy here, right? So this is the case where, like they had in the hotel that they were staying in, they had a guy there, And he said, Rabbi Yochanan said, you were right that you rented it from him. And we explained the only thing that they gained by renting it is that now they were able to give up their rights to the Rishus. They were able to be Mavatal. But now we're saying, according to Shmuel, who's Rabbi Yochanan's Rebbe, it seems.
Well, go ahead, another 2 lines.
When
did the guy come?
Right. Well, if the guy came yesterday, so then Loiger, Me'esmo, they could rent it from yesterday.
So what's the problem then? Ella must be.
Ella, Lav, the Asa b'Shabbata. He came on Shabbos. V'katani, Oisrin v'ein ma'arvin. It's Asa, the Oisrin v'ein ma'arvin, ein mevatlan. Shmami no. You see in the case where they're Asa on each other, but ein ma'arvin because there's a guy there, you can't make an eruv. Shmami no, that you can't rent. You can't be mevatal rishos. You can't give up your rights. So it's a kasha on a brechen on how did he allow it. Okay, I give over the camera, the matul. Shkoyach.
Okay, Shkoyach.
I'll listen.
I'm in trouble. He's listening. Amar Rabbi Yosef now. Rabbi Yosef says, "Lo shmi elai hay shmaita." In other words, Rabbi Yosef is saying what Shmuel said, that if you have a pnimi and a chitzoni chatzer, in other words, and we say that the pnimi could be mevatal. In other words, what Shmuel says that the pnimi could be mevatal his drisas regel to the chitzoni, and then he won't aser. So lo shmi elai shmaita. Rabbi Yosef is saying what Shmuel says that where a pnimi and a chitzoni is applied, there was no erev. The pnimi could be mevato. Rabbi Yosef says, I never heard of that. I don't agree with it. Amalei Abaya. So we know Rabbi Yosef, in his later life, got sick, and he forgot his his learning. So Abaya, his Talmud, was reminding him. Amalei Abaya, At Amar Dalan. You told us that. Baham and Alan. You told us Shmuel's member on this. The Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said, Ein bittul rishus mechatzer lechatzer. In other words, when we have this kula of bittul, of somebody being mevatel as rishus, that's only in one courtyard. If you have a lot of people, in other words, a lot of homes that are open to one chutzner, and one person forgot, so the Rabbanan says you could do bittul. That only applies to one chutzner. But ein bittul rishus mechatzer lechatzer. If you want to bring other chutznerim into a one unified eruv, and one person forgot in a different chutzner, that bittul does not help to be able to everybody should carry. That's Shmuel's memory. Ein bittul rishus mechatzer lechatzer. And also, number 2, he said, ve'ein bittul rishus bechurba. Also, if you have 2 homes that are not opened into a chatzer, they're opened between, they have a churba. In other words, a deserted house, a deserted courtyard, which people don't use. So all of a sudden, this Shabbos they want to use, and they forgot to make a eruv with each other, these 2 batim with the churba. So we say that you can't be mevatel the rishus for the churba to be able to carry. And Rashi explains because the whole kula of being mevatel, in other words, by a chatzer, was everybody's using it. In other words, but here the churba, where normally people don't use it, Rashi uses to have a by a chatzer, it's ikir tashmisei hasam. Everybody's using a chatzer, but a churba, where normally people don't use. So in other words, if you forgot to make an eruv, and you want to all be using this churba through bittul, the Rabbanan are not makel there, because that's normal. That's not normal your way to use it during the week. So why all of a sudden Shabbos today? Oh, I want to use the churba. So that's what Shmuel says, that ein bittul rishus b'churba. And Abai is saying, v'amrit lo Allah, you Rabbi Yosef, when Shmuel said this memra, you told us. Ki amar Shmuel, when did Shmuel say ein bittul rishus mechatzer lechatzer lo amran el shtei chatzeiros pesach echad? When do we say by 2 chatzers when they're side by side, when a door is on their own? So we say that there's no bittul because they could carry on their own anyway, because they have a way to get out. But if it would be a chatzer penimi and a chatzer chitzonai, since they didn't make the eruv, the penimi would aser the chitzonah because he has the drisas regel to get through the chitzonai. So therefore, Shmuel would agree that a bittul would be okay here because there's kulas. The Rabbanan try to make a kula by eruvin, they would allow it. So you see, Abai is saying, Rabbi Yosef, what do you mean you don't hold up Shmuel? You see, you did hold a Shmuel, and you explained Shmuel's din. Amalei. So now Rabbi Yosef remember. He says, no. I mean Shmuel. Achi, I said that. You remember I said that? Nay, v'hama Shmuel. Shmuel said, Ein lanu be'erevin elo k'lishay mishnasenu. In erevin, you have to go precise what the Mishnah says. You can't be meisiv more. In other words, when it says Anshe Chatzer. In the Mishnah it says Anshe Chatzer, people that belong to one Chatzer. You have a lot of homes, Batim, opening to one Chatzer. But therefore, B'lei Anshe Chatzeros. Bittul would not apply where there are 2 Chatzers, Chatzerim, right? So in other words, Rabbi Yosef says, I couldn't have said that on Shmuel, because Shmuel himself said, you have to be precise. Amalei, Abaye told back, Rabbi Yosef, no. Ki amrit lan, ein lana be'ervin el l'shemish t'seinu. When you told us the Shmuel's memra, it only applied to one memra. Aha, amrit lan. It applied to this din. Sha'amavi l'chatzeira is kechatzer lebatim. Just like by a chatzer, you need minimum 2 batim opening up to a chatzer. So therefore, Shmuel said, be'ervin, you have exactly the same thing. So if you want to make shituv muvayos, you also have to have a minimum of 2 chatzeros opening into a mavi to make this din of shituv muvayos. That's where you apply this din of lashon mishraseinu. But back to the din of bittul, where you have 2 chatzerim and they forgot to make an eruv, and you want to use bittul, even Shmuel will be moda that there would be bittul. So therefore, Abaye says, when you, Rabbi Yosef, said, no, you did say that Shmuel holds bittul. So you agree with us. Gufa, Amar Shmuel. So Shmuel said, we learned before, ain't bittul reshut mechatzer l'chatzer. There's no bittul from one chatzer to another chatzer. In other words, the kula, if you forgot to make an eruv, and the Rabbanan allow you to mivatel your reshus, in other words, and you're not answering it on the other people, that's only in one chatzer, not when there are 2 chatzer. Vein bittul reshus bechorba. That is Shmuel. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Yesh bittul reshus mechatzer l'chatzer. There is bittul from one chatzer to another chatzer. In other words, if there's 2 chatzeros and they want to both carry to each other, one chatzer can be mevatel their reshus to the other chatzer, and also yesh bittul reshus bechorba. Now, why bitzricha? Why do you have to say this concept by both? In other words, mechatzer l'chatzer and by chorba. Because the Yashmina mechatzer l'chatzer, b'ha'kam Shmuel. Shmuel says by a chatzer l'chatzer there's no bittul. Why? Mishum dahad hashmisha l'chod. This chatzer has its own. They use it on their own. B'had hashmisha l'chod. They're separate. So therefore, if they forgot the Shabbos make an eruv, tough luck. You can't make bittul. But maybe aval churba, this churba that's in between these 2 homes, there's a shmisha chadul tavayu. They both use the churba if they want to. So therefore, maybe if this Shabbos where they want to make an eruv and they forgot, maybe the concept of bittul does kick in. That yes. Therefore, he has to say even by a churba, Shmuel says there's no bittul. That there is bittul. Maybe by a chatzer where each one has its own tashmisa l'chud, maybe bittul would not help. Therefore, Rabbi Yochanan had to say even by a chatzer bittul would help. That's why we had to list both cases. Amar Abaye. Now Abaye already explained what Rabbi Yosef said before when Shmuel made a statement of ein bittul reshus mechatzer l'chatzer. So in other words, Rabbi Yosef says, when did Shmuel say that? That was only when it is a side-by-side chatzer. And we say bittul doesn't apply. But if it would be a pnimi and chitzaynai, Rabbi Yosef clarified Shmuel's memra. Now Abaye all of a sudden says, and it's taka interesting that Abaye is bringing it in his own name, but really he heard it from his Rebbe, and he gets involved in machlekes with Rava. So look at the Gemara now. Amar Abaye, had Amar Shmuel ein bittul reshus mechatzer l'chatzer, what we just said before. Like Amran, that only applies when bittul doesn't come. In other words, if you forgot to make a erev el b'shtei chatzeros, you pesach echa b'neim. When they're side by side, and therefore they have a Pesach in between each other. So since they could get out into the mavi on their own door, right? So therefore we don't allow this kula of bittul. In other words, if there's a pnimi and a chitzono, and if they forgot to make a erev, the pnimi would aser b'toich she'oisrin, the pnimi would aser the chitzon because he has grisas regel, then Abaye says, yes, mevat. This is exactly what Rav Yosef said. So Abaye is really, now all of a sudden Rava says, oh, Abaye, you're saying that, but Abaye should have quoted, this is my Rebbe Rav Yosef. Rava Amar, afilu shtei chatzera zuluf nimazu, even if you have a pnimi and a chitzon, and the pnimi would aser the chitzon, sometimes we would allow and say if you forgot to make an erev, you could use the concept of bittul and therefore you won't aser. But there are some cases where we would not allow bittul and therefore it would be aser to carry. What is the case? So ketzah. If before Shabbos they put, when you have a pnimi and a chitzon, they put the erev in the chitzon, right? then all of a sudden, that's normally what happens. But b'shachar echad, all of a sudden one Shabbos comes along, and one of them, he forgot to become involved in that eruv, and normally they put it in the chitzon. So everybody else put it in the chitzon except one of them, either from the pnimi forgot. There, shnei and asuros. There, you cannot come along and say, "Oh, I forgot. I want to make bittul." We don't allow bittul, and therefore he would aser on all the group there. I don't know if it's the chitzon or the pnimi, but if one of them forgot, would aser on all of them. That is the case of emavat. But if nasna erubam b'pnimius, if normally they're putting it in the pnimius one, in other words, even the chitzon are bringing their eruv into the pnimius, and the shachat echam na pnimius, all of a sudden one Shabbos, one of the pnimius forgot to make an eruv, v'layirev, also shtein asuros. There, bittul will not help. But if shachat echem mechitzayna, when normally they put the eruv in the inside, and one of the outside people from the outside forgot to be mishtatev in the eruv, v'layirev, there pnimi muteres, the pnimi would be mutter through the concept of bittul, but the chitzayna, even if there's a bittul, would be aser. So now the Gemara explains. Now, we just finished saying, if they put normally the eruv in the chitzon, v'shachat echad beimin ha'pnimius beimin ha'chitzaynis v'la'irev, there would be shtein asurais. Why? Because hai bar pnimius, if the pnimius fellow was the one that forgot to make an eruv, and you want to say make bittul, leman nevatel, who should he be mevatel? His rishus. Levatel b'nei pnimius, if he's going to be mevatel to the b'nei pnimius, leisei la ruvik abayo. The eruv is not there. Where's the eruv? It's in the chitzon. So he has no right to do that, right? If you look at the third wide line in Rashi, levatel b'nei pnimius rishus chatzero, if the person in the pnimi forgot to join into the eruv, and he wants to be mevatel his rishus, to have a pnimius mi yishari la'atzmai v'chitzayna to asa b'fnei drisas ragloi shel zeh shayshel b'kaimoi leisel eruv gabeyu. When he gets away, if he's mevatel and he gets away from this whole chitzon, hari b'lay eruv, he's by out of eruv kulanois nalzeh. So therefore, eruv bittul would not apply. So the Gemara says now, okay. So he's not mevatel b'nei pnimius. Levatel b'nei chitzayinai. In other words, ein bittul rishus mechatz l'chatzer. Then the concept of from one chatzer to another chatzer kicks in, and therefore bittul does not apply. So therefore, if the eruv is in the chitzon and the pnimius guy forgot to join in, bittul can't help. And the Gemara explained it. Bittul can't help for his pnimius, for the people in the pnimi, because the eruv is not there. The eruv is in the chitzon, and he can't do it to the chitzon. He can't be mevatel rishus to the chitzon, because ein mevatlen mechatz l'chatzer. So that's why it's aser, right? Now the Gemara explains the next case. Hai bar chitzayna. Now let's say if the bar chitzayna forgot. Har bar chitzayna l'mayin vatel. If he forgot, who should he? Because we're saying bittul would not help. Because who does he want to be mevatel it? Levatel lebnei chitzayna. If he's going to mevatel it to his people in the chitzon, that doesn't help. Because even if he's mevatel, there's still ikka pnimis astrale. The pnimis have a drisas regel to walk through the chitzon, so they would aser. And if he does it levatel b'nei pnimius, the chitzon is going to mevatel for b'nei pnimius. That's again ein bittul rishus mechatz l'chatzer. So that's why if the eruv is in the chitzon, so it doesn't matter if one of the pnimius forgot to make the eruv or one of the chitzon forgot it, bittul does not kick in here, it can't work. Now the Gemara explains the next case. Nasnan eruvam b'pnimius. Let's say the case, well, we just mentioned the second case now, where the eruv is placed in the inner chatzar, and b'shachat echad min ha'pnimius, and one of the pnimius forgot to join in, v'lo yirev. So we say that bittul does not help. Shtei in asuros. And the Gemara explains why doesn't bittul help. Because hai bar pnimius leman mevatel. The bar pnimius, who is he going to be mevatel his rishus to be able to carry? If he's going to do levatel b'nei pnimius, if he's going to make his bittul rishus to b'nei pnimius, that doesn't help. Ikke chitzayna to asher. The chitzayin will aser because they're not part of the eruv. Because there was one person that didn't do it. Again, ein bittul rishus mechatzer l'chatzer. So that's why it doesn't work. That's case number 2. Case number 3. If one of the outer ones forgot to make an erev, we said, that's number 3 case, Blahirev. So we say, Vadai Pnimius Muteres. In other words, Vadai, for sure, the Pnimius is mutter. Why? So in other words, the Achta Dasha, Umishtamsha, he could close up his door, and he's not going to let the Chitzain come in. The Chitzainai, but it would be Aser. So let's finish up here. Amalei Rav Huna Brei Rav Yeshua al Rava. We said if one of the people from the inner courtyard forgot to make the erev, we say that bittul doesn't help, and both of them are aser. For the Gemara, why? Amai shtei masuros. Livatel bar penimius lebnei penimius. Let him vatel his rishus to the ones that are inside. V'teisei chitzainai v'tishterei b'hadei, and therefore the chitzain should come ahead and become mutter with them. So why can't you say that? So Gemara says that is only good. Kiman kirab lezer the amma ain't tzarich levatel rishus l'chel lachad v'echad. If you want to say that Panemius is only giving mivatel to the Panemius, and the Chitzon is not involved in this bittul, that's only according to Rabbi Lezer that says that bittul doesn't have to go to each one that is part of the Erev. I said my memra according to Rabbanan, and if you give him mivatel it also to the Chitzon, then there's going to be a problem, and therefore we say shtei and asuros. Let's go. Have a good day.